Hello there, welcome to Trade of the Week, an insight into how our experts here at IG go about choosing a trade and all of the technical and the macroeconomic data that goes behind that choice. Okay, last week, let's rewind because we had Chris Beecham here. He chose to trade the US dollar against the Canadian dollar because it had already been strengthening, and Chris was confident that this trend would continue, acknowledging that it's a volatile currency pair as well and that the weakening of oil would also play into this. Well, we've got Josh Mahony here talking to us about that trade, about how Chris did. So how did it pan out in the end? Can you go through it with the chart? Yeah,
not great, quite honestly. I guess this is a case of the trend is your friend until you put a trade on, and then it goes the opposite direction. So this is the weekly time frame. I guess that gives you a picture of exactly how it's played out this week. It's pretty much been selling all throughout the week. This really has been in line with the fact that actually we've seen a resurgence in terms of Brent crude prices, and as such, you've seen a strengthening of the Canadian dollar. On the daily time frame, this just shows that actually, you know, we have been seeing this fairly consistent trend, which, you know, fair play for Chris. I would have been looking at the same kind of thing. You would be expecting it to continue. But that failure to take that previous high that we had here around about 132.58 was very important. And since then, we've now broken below this 1.3 mark. So actually, this looks like a potential turning point in the market. And even, you know, when we do see a rally, I would think that would fall short of the 132 mark and sell off once more. So actually, the sort of longer trend, this sort of downtrend that we've been seeing coming into this move, looks like it's back on. And I do think we're going to see further downside for dollar CAD.
Okay, last time you were here, you were all over gold, weren't you?
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything similar this time, or something
I guess
else?
it could be quite similar. Australian dollar.
Okay.
Gold, I'm still sticking to it. It's been selling off so far this week, but it's just a case.
You did say it's a long-term strategy.
Yeah,
even
definitely, yeah, and it's just a case of picking your moments to get back in. But yeah, we'll get up the Australian dollar one just to give you an idea of the sort of wider perspective of this. So I guess the background to it is the fact that we've seen this sort of monetary policy easing from the RBA. There's expectation that we could see something similar going forward and further easing. There's even talk of potentially QE over in Australia. So you would think that we'd see weakness in terms of the Australian dollar. Nevertheless, we've been seeing a period of strength. We've seen about a month and a half of serious upside for the Aussie dollar. Now you can see we've got this big trend line, support, turn resistance, so 3 resistance, 2 support, and then this week it's come into that level, temporarily tried to breach it, and then it's coming back down once more. If we go onto the daily time frame, we can see that we have sold off somewhat. We are actually rallying right now, but I think it will be an interesting area to start getting short. I think that with this stochastic starting to roll over, we have got the opportunity for this to actually sell off once more. If we go into the 4-hour chart, we can see that we are rallying. We have got this 76.4. If I take it back to the daily, you can see here the 76.4 of this wider level. So you can see that's potentially providing some support. I guess this is a longer term trade as well. I do think that we're likely to see a sort of substantial period of downside for this. So I guess really it depends on how long you think this is going to occur. One sort of safer way to say that I think that this will hold and sell off is to say that I don't think it will break up above 78.35. That's quite a substantial way away from where we are at the moment, and certainly that's not going to play out in terms of a week in terms of the like-for-like move towards the downside. A riskier option would be to put your stop below the high that we set around about 7770, and that was the high back on the 10th of August. So for the sake of staying in the trade and seeing how this plays out, we'll stick our stop above this 78.35 mark, so we'll say 78.50, and the expectation is that on the wider perspective, let me take it back to the weekly, on the wider perspective, these major swing highs are going to continue to lessen, and we have lower highs, so this is essentially a play on that. Certainly we have this higher low, so there's a potential for a breakthrough, but if it's going to turn around anywhere, you would think it would turn around here. So this is a very pivotal area for the Aussie dollar, coming at a time where they're easing and people have an expectation of potential further easing. So I think this could be a good moment for us to see the Aussie dollar start to deteriorate.
And next week, RBA meeting minutes might shed more light as to where they're going.
Exactly.
And also unemployment stats as well, which has been quite bad actually.
Yeah. So, well, you know, we've seen slight improvements in terms of the employment data, but it's coming from a pretty awful place. So, you know, when we had a deterioration in terms of the unemployment rate in the UK and Europe and stuff, and improvements, we actually were seeing year upon year of increasing unemployment in Australia. That is finally falling now, but it still is high by historical standards. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in terms of the employment data. That again has a big impact on what's happening in terms of this chart. And again, like you said, the minutes are going to be absolutely crucial because it's all about expectations. If people expect them to ease once more, and I do think they're likely to be open to doing that once more, then that is likely to see people actually start to move out the Australian dollar.
And it's worth mentioning as well that next week we've got a lot of mining stocks coming out.
Yep, always going to impact the likes of the Australian dollar.
All right, and also terrible data from China recently this week.
There
so
you go.
There's so much factoring in,
Perfect
isn't
storm.
there? Exactly. All right, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for watching. So, Britain is heating up this weekend. Apparently there's warm weather coming from Spain and North Africa. So enjoy that if you get a little bit of sun, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.